Hey guys, so I just wanted to throw this video out there because this is something that I always struggled with in Christianity, and I wanted to bring it to the light so that anybody who also feels the same way can have a little bit of peace knowing that they're not the only ones who ever experienced it. But whenever I was a kid, we grew up in a Baptist church, and I got saved initially at 6 years old. and did the whole gambit, got baptized, all that jazz. Then at about 9 years old, while there was another fire and brimstone message, I was so scared of the message that even though I was already saved, I decided, you know what, let me just get saved again. And a couple of years later, a year later, another fire and brimstone message would come out. I'd get, oh my God, I better be 100% sure. Let me just get saved again. And it seemed like every single time that there's any sort of, you're going to burn in hell if you're not saved, I would always just get so incredibly scared of burning in hell because, of course, these ministers are incredibly dramatic in their fashion of explaining what their beliefs are. And every single time I would just keep getting saved, I would just pray again. I would just pray again, pray again, pray again. And it was so funny to me because, over the course of the last 20 years, I've probably been saved, 50 times or something. I remember being so incredibly scared of going to hell that I would just stay up at night and I would just cry, not because I wasn't saved or anything like that, but it was just because I was so scared of going there. And that's one thing that I always found interesting because, God is not supposed to give you a spirit of fear, but of a sound mind. And I never had that in Christianity. Even whenever I was a choir boy, altar boy, did everything by the book, devotions every day, praying every day, witnessing to people, and just being as amazing of a Christian that I could, and even wholeheartedly believing at it in the very short periods of time that I was able to convince myself that it was the only way. There was always that very slight subconscious fear that I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell. And, I think it was probably from bouncing around from the different religions because, we were Baptist, but my cousins were Mormon, and then my school that we went to was Church of Christ, and then another school was Church of God. And so there's a lot of different religions that we kind of bounced all around. And there was always just this thing of each religion had its own caveat as to why you weren't going to go to hell. Why you weren't going to go to heaven, but we were, versus the other very much same Christian religions. And the thing is, the spirit of fear and of a sound mind, God doesn't give you a spirit of fear, but of a sound mind. That doesn't exist in Christianity. Every step of the way, I was so afraid of going to hell that I had to repeat that prayer and I had to reaffirm my faith multiple times just because I never had the peace within my own heart that I was going to go to heaven. Of course, after I would pray, okay, I'm good. All right, now I'm fine. I'm going to heaven. I'm going to heaven. I'm going to heaven. Until maybe a year, 2 years had passed and somebody comes with a fire and brimstone. And then I think, oh my God, I haven't been an absolutely perfect Christian in the last year. Maybe I'm going to hell now. Let me redo this. And then one of our school teachers told us that the one thing that's going to keep so many Christians from heaven is unrepented sin. And if you have even a single sin that you didn't specifically repent for, you are not going to be able to go to heaven. And it was just like, how the hell is anybody going to get there? You know, I mean, shoot, did Jesus make it to heaven? You know, because he broke some Christian laws of the time, and I don't necessarily think that he repented of them. You know, it's just in Christianity, I never had that complete knowingness, that complete safety of I am safe in myself. I am taken care of. Whenever I die, I have nothing to worry about. I never had that. And, even whenever I ask Christians today, you kind of prophesy it. Oh, yes, yeah, I'm going to heaven. Jesus Christ died for me. Da, 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 da. You say everything that you're supposed to say, and I believe it with my heart and all this kind of crap. And, you go through the motions of reciting your faith, and it gives you this false sense of security because, at the end of the day, whenever you're pointed out inconsistencies in the Bible, because the Bible is loaded with inconsistencies, right? It's loaded with, there's verses saying that it's, you can beat your slave if you want. I mean, he's your property, and because he's your property, it's okay as long as you don't kill him. Well, what in the world is that, You have to understand the context in which it came, but still the fact that that's what's said in the scriptures as being a supported thing. It's like, okay. And the same thing is with speaking in tongues with Pentecostals. There's a big debate as to whether or not that's something that came from a pagan or heathen background while they were transitioning faith, or if it's a spiritual gift, right? And it's just all of these things that just don't make sense. The idea of unconditional love, yet God has a chosen people that are separate from anybody else, which is the definition of conditional love. And the illusion that God is a just God, but he can kill whoever he wants, whenever he wants, and he doesn't have to answer it to anybody. One of the things that really kind of stood out to me, and it was something that I immediately rejected right off the bat. But then after I kind of started to think about it, I was like, wow, you know what? That's a solid point, is that in the Bible, look at how many people our loving God, supposedly, had allowed to be killed. How many cities, how many people has God killed in the Bible? Well, thousands and thousands, right? Whenever giving the promised land, whenever Lot's wife got turned into a pillar of salt and all this kind of stuff. It's just like thousands and hundreds of thousands of people are killed in the name of God. But then whenever you look at the devil himself, it's like, well, how many people did the devil kill? And it's like, oh, really? Not that many, a few compared to what God was allowing, but of course, I guess that can kind of be considered like a whoa, chill out, John kind of point. But the point that I'm trying to make is that the incredible inconsistencies in the Bible is not something that should be ignored out of fear of going to hell. And that's something that Christianity has always kind of forced upon people, is you don't question the faith, because the results of questioning the faith is burning in hell. So you don't question the faith. You have you don't necessarily believe it. Well, you better believe it, because you're going to burn in hell if you don't. And it's just like this tremendous fear, which if you look at a whole bunch of other cultish religions, that's exactly how they control people. It's the fear that they're going to come after you, the fear that you're not safe, the fear that someone's going to come and find you and hurt you, which is realistically what Christians do all the time anyway. I know I live up here in Alaska, which is kind of like stepping back into the 1980s in the United States. And, there's a tremendous amount of, there's just a tremendous amount of hate that gets thrown around in the name of, I'm a white Christian and he is something else, and it's just like, this can't be right. And that's the thing. For me, it wasn't right. And I decided to put my entire religion under a microscope. And the more I saw all the cracks, the more I stepped away from it. And the more I stepped away from it, the more I became afraid that I was going to burn in hell until I found God outside of Christianity. And my connection with him was forged so strongly that there's absolute certainty and absolute peace in my being that I don't have to worry about it, But hopefully you guys get to find that too, Jesus is the way and God is the way, but Christianity is not necessarily the best way. So